Everybody, my name is Inger and I run Tarot Wikipedia. It's an online tarot database where you can basically read up about what card means, tarot spreads, you can learn about numerology, astrology and how it's all connected to tarot. So tarot is basically a tool that you can use to find answers for yourself and to also create your life and to make life better. So I got a question about if you need to know Kabbalah or study Kabbalah to do the tarot. Then the answer is no, you don't, because the Kabbalah is, there is a link, there is sort of a link, but it's not like a strong link to Kabbalah. However, I do recommend that, you do study some type of spiritual modality, because it can really work well with the tarot. It doesn't have to be Kabbalah. If you feel really drawn to Kabbalah, if you feel like that is your path to enlightenment, then absolutely, I then would recommend you do Kabbalah. But for many people, that might not be, what they're drawn to. So then I just suggest that, you follow your heart and find the modality that really suits you, because we are individuals, and wherever we're at in our journey in this lifetime, you feel drawn to certain modalities and others you might not so much. So with the Kabbalah and the tarot, basically the connection is mostly seen in the Major Arcana cards. So there's 22 Major Arcana cards, and the Kabbalah uses the Tree of Life as a symbol. And many traditions use the Tree of Life, but it's quite famously used in Kabbalah. And they in the diagram, it's kind of like a diagram, and many people also use it as a tarot spread. It is 22 pathways, and they are the 22 pathways to enlightenment. And because of that, people started thinking, oh, there's 22 Major Arcana cards, and the Major Arcana cards are also a pathway to enlightenment. That is sort of why they're so hard to read sometimes, because they are so mystical, and they're not always, it's not very obvious what it means. And like Wheel of Fortune, for example, it's not really an obvious. Let's compare this card with a Minor Arcana card. I just pulled out Queen of Swords, and that's like a person who's very capable, very intellectual, someone who's doing really well in her career. Can also be a male who has very strong balance between male and female. So it's sort of straight away much easier to read than this card. Wheel of Fortune basically is a card for progress. But sometimes when you read the Major Arcana cards and you say it's progress, and the person you're reading for, they want more information. So let's just pull I just keep pulling court cards now. This is Knight of Cups, so that's someone who's very artistic and also often very good in business. So each Minor Arcana cards are so easy to use, so easy to read. And then the Major Arcana cards, when you read them, it's straight away, it's much more mystical, much more broader, and that's where people get stuck. So when you get a lot of Major Arcana cards, and they show up sometimes when there's basically things are happening that you might feel like you have very little control over, but they're all happening for a reason, and it's there to basically set the scene for you to start learning something really significant and to help you along, on your path, basically. And there's stuff that you may feel like you have very little influence over. So it actually is also giving you time to think what you really, really want. And they also tell you about archetypes. So for example, let's say the Strength card here. That's like an archetype of someone who's very passionate and very kind and very caring. So sometimes the Major Arcana cards, they will also speak about personality traits. They also speak about the bonds between people and situations as well, and what is really important in people's lives. For example, the Empress, that is someone who's super intelligent, but always ends up sort of caring for others as well, and caring for animals and caring for everybody, but who is super intelligent and is always doing really well in career and business, and who has a very good head on her shoulders. She's an archetype, can also represent a male with those qualities. Someone who is a very charismatic person, who, because of that energy, everything around this person ends up being very abundant. It's like fruitful energy. And then you have this card. So the Hangman is like, some cards are more hated than others, and I think the Hangman might be a card that's a bit hated by people because it's sort of like, it's like Hanged Man. What does it actually mean? It often is read as pause, you know, it's a bit of a pause in your life, you're thinking, reflecting. Again, with the Major Arcana cards, you get these answers, and it's like, often when people come and want a reading, they don't want to really hear that. So, but there's like a hidden meaning behind every Major Arcana card. It's like a hidden meaning. So you have to read it with the question. I'm going to give you a few examples, and you learn. So I'm doing a tarot card meaning course, and I'm going to teach you how to get those hidden meanings, because they are where the gems are, basically. So with the Hanged Man, the Hanged Man is someone who's very good at inventing things. It's like a hidden genius. So if you get this card, you might be actually on your pathway to invent something in your life. You might be thinking about ideas that are actually really, really clever. You might not be even aware that you have these ideas. You might just think they're really common, or so it's a really good idea to write them down and do something about them, because it's like you're in that inventive energy and you're actually being really enlightened about it. This is a card for enlightenment as well, because this is someone who sees everything from a different perspective and who knows what's important and what isn't. And therefore it's kind of more being detached from the drama, because once you can focus on what is important in life, there's no need for drama. You only focus on drama and conflict, and sometimes conflict is necessary, but I'm talking about unnecessary conflict, people dragging you into all these sort of battle zones. You can only be pulled into that if you have kind of lost a bit of perspective on what is important. And to get perspective on what is important, sometimes we need to sacrifice a lot of that outer stuff that gives us maybe a short-term entertainment value, but actually is actually hurting us when it comes to, you know, it might be fun with all the drama and conflict. Maybe there's some type of entertainment value in that, but long term it's actually giving you the wrong perspective, and it can make you lose out on what is really important. And that is what the Hanged Man is representing. It's actually asking you to take time out, step back in the situation, because whatever situation you're asking about or you're being pulled into may not serve your highest and best. So that's what this card means. Sometimes it's very important to get involved. Sometimes it's very important to get involved and get into things and really get into the conflict, because sometimes conflict is necessary. It is necessary sometimes to stand up for what you believe in, and it's very necessary to stand up for people that are unable to help themselves, you know, people that are very vulnerable. But this card also then represents that you're able to do that with a clear mind, and that you don't take things personally. You actually, I guess you can fight a battle without any type of unnecessary, so I'm talking about unnecessary drama. When things spiral out of control, it becomes about everything else. So you actually focus on what is really, really important. So you see clearly what's important. So this card, it is actually a very, very good card to get. It's a super important card, and it's a bit of a wake-up call in itself, this card. And I wrote a meditation on it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna publish it. I did it ages ago, and it's a meditation where you're going to go through some a kind of a death. It's not obviously you're not gonna die. It's just like you're gonna visualize going through a death process, and then in that process you're gonna see what is really important to you in your life. So I might do it. If you guys want me to do it, just let me know and I'll publish it. And I've done it. I honestly did it just because I wanted to see for myself. You know, I'd lost a bit of perspective myself, what was important in life and things like that, and I really needed to connect with all of that and get out of the drama and out of the anxiety of everything. And that's why I wrote that meditation. It really worked really well for me. This card here, again, it can speak of traveling. This can actually be as simple as representing your car. That is like when you read in a really sort of practical way. It can also mean, if you talk more about growing and, you know, moving forward in life, this is about moving forward before you feel ready, but you're going for it anyway, because this is about putting your faith, you know, in focus. So it's like you believe that it's possible, and you don't need any proof. You're just going to have faith. So it's like, and therefore it's going to all work out. There's so many examples. It's 22 Major Arcana cards, and when the tarot card meaning webinar, it's like an online study course. You can study in your own time and everything. I will explain all about every card and how it all ties up together and things like that. So, but if you want to, like I said, there's a hidden meaning in all cards. All cards can be read in a very philosophical way, a very practical way, you know, like this card, for example. This is, you know, the legal world. It's justice. It's about the legal world. It will show up if you have any kind of legal stuff going on. But it also shows up when you are, you know, it shows up in your life and you're meant to master something in your life and you're meant to aim really high in everything that you do. So it's like when you're putting extra pressure on yourself to be perfect. And sometimes when this card shows up, people are actually they're a bit vulnerable for other people to take advantage of them because they're so in that focus on wanting to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So because they're so focused on that, sometimes they're getting a bit vulnerable for other people to take advantage of that, and they're not seeing it because they're so focused on everything being perfect and that they're making it so perfect for everybody else as well. So this is a card that shows up when people are putting a lot of pressure on themselves. So that is more like a day-to-day meaning of this card, and then again it shows up when if there's like court cases and things like that. This card here, I'm going through a few of the Major Arcana cards now. This card here is a Hierophant. Again, this is a lot of people hate this card. They just think it's the worst card to get. It's boring, you know, what does it mean? This is basically a card for traditions. It's about, you know, rituals, traditions, and it's also a card for deep commitments. So it shows up when there's a deepening in commitment in your life, but it's sort of in a traditional way. We speak of traditional relationships like marriage, for example. And also this card is about commitment, but it's like, what are you going to achieve? You have to be committed to achieve, but you also need a lot of personal freedom. So it's like being disciplined and achieving freedom through discipline, because you need, you know, that might sound like there's two opposites, but they are two opposites that actually need each other. If you want freedom in your mind, for example, you need to meditate and you need to have discipline to meditate to have freedom in your mind. And it's the same thing with a marriage, for example. If you want a lasting marriage, you need to have some kind of discipline within that marriage. And for it to be lasting. And for it to be lasting, you also need to be able to be yourself. You need to have freedom to be yourself, to have freedom to grow, to be yourself 100%, to, you know, I guess, you know, without any limitations on who you can become. So to be able to do that and being in that sort of traditional relationship, you need freedom and you need discipline as well. So that's what this card means. So it's like, it's a bit confusing because this is a 5 in numerology, and the 5 is actually all about freedom. But then this is actually also about commitment, but it's because of that combination. So yeah, this here is a High Priestess. This is again a card, you know, speaks of your inner life. When this card shows up, see what other cards are showing up in connection to it, for the cards that are surrounding it. This is about, you can see how well someone is doing in their life just by looking at how well the cards connect to this card. Because the inner life, you know, that is just the state of mind of a person. And, you know, you can be the richest person on the planet and still do, in a sort of philosophical sense, be you know, not very successful, in the sense that you're not happy. So that's kind of, then you might have all the money in the world, but if you're not happy, then there's not really any value in the money. It's just not really, it's just money, isn't it? The real true value is if you can be happy, if you can have positive mind, if you're happy, you're healthy, and you have you know, positive feelings. That's, you know, true happiness. That's true success. And the High Priestess, she will tell you the state of mind of a person. So when she shows up, then the state of mind of a person, if that is like at the center of the reading, if that's a situation, then that is something then going on in the life that's either disturbing the peace of mind or creating more peace of mind. And it's always on an emotional level, or it's the inner life of a person. So that person might be creating absolute havoc in their life because of their emotional state, or they are attracting, you know, and manifesting and creating seemingly out of thin air just through the power of their mind, because this is one of the most powerful cards actually in the whole deck. So there's so much to say about all of these cards. But I don't even know where to end. I just want to go through more and more and more. The Sun. The Sun is like the most favorable card you can probably get. It just speaks of happiness, love, falling in love, being in love, falling in love all over again, but being childlike. It speaks of everything that's good about life, and you know, it's all about everything that creates warm feelings, where you are relaxed, where you have time, you know, whatever is important to you, is you have that. You have your needs met, basically, when this card is showing up. So the Sun is also about being making good decisions and being really clever and logical. It's all about making, you know, talk a lot about intuition and things like that. And the High Priestess especially, you know, she's the card for intuition. But the Sun makes good decisions because the Sun actually represents knowing a lot of things and having a lot of knowledge about stuff, and also being connected. You know, it's like being connected to your intuition, but also having a very good head on your shoulder and be able to use both. So when this card is showing up, the seeker is always making really, really good decisions that they can benefit from a long time into the future. This card is also showing up when people will basically get what it is that they really want and need. So it's a fantastic card to get, isn't it? So again, I'm going to do a class, a proper study in the card meanings, because there is so much, but I'm also, you know, yes, there is so much to know about each card, and that can be hard, you know, to remember everything. But maybe more importantly, what I'm going to teach you guys is to find, you know, how to find the messages in the cards. There's a technique that I've used, that I learned, you know, somewhere along the way in my tarot journey, and it helped me get all the different messages from the cards, and several techniques I'm going to teach you guys, so then you guys will be able to find those hidden messages and meanings that aren't obvious, and those meanings are not in any books, and you'll be able to develop your own personal relationship with each and every card. So that's going to be very, very powerful. So that's coming hopefully in January. It might be at my sort of deadline is the 28th of January, so I'm hoping that I can achieve that, to have that course available then. Okay, bye!